Welcome to our podcast, Untangled Roots. Have you ever asked yourself the question, why am I here? Well, if you have, welcome to the starting point of the best part of your life. Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Cassie. Join us as we share our perspective from our personal journey of untangling from everything that we're not. Let's go, truth seekers. Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 14 of Untangled Roots podcast. I'm Jamie.
I'm Cassie.
And this is Juniper. She's not taking a nap today, but...
So she's just going to hang out with us.
Yeah, she's going to roll with it. So today, I don't know if some of you probably watched our Instagram stories. Did you see my Instagram story back to you? Okay. So it's kind of funny, kind of ironic. So the topic of this month is celebrating you, celebrating self. And this episode is mostly a shout out to women, but I mean, if you're an interesting guy who wants to learn.
Because they're the troopers.
Because they're the troopers who have to ride it out alongside the women. But yeah, this episode, we're just going to go raw, real, and share in the story, like I mentioned. Cass is in the part of her cycle where...
You didn't say that what we're talking about.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I'm saying we're talking about cycles. We're talking about tracking cycles and celebrating the self
hormones
within the cycle, which in that cycle, hormones are a thing. And yeah, I don't know if you know the type. Sometimes Cass and I have spent a lot of time together. For some reason, at some point when we were a couple years ago, our cycles were synced. Just because my body syncs, like whenever I was on teams, I would sync to the people I would live with or whatever. So my body would adjust. And then recently, because Cass just had a baby, our cycles are a little bit different. So thanks for being a trooper with me in creating this, because navigating cycles and hormones are just a very important process and a very present process for us. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Is there any place you'd like to start off with?
Right. So do you want to start off by just saying like how many parts to the cycle there are?
I'll start off with, so this is, again, we only talk about from our perspective. I'm not like a medical person at all, but I have learned through my own doctors how my hormones have affected me and my life and what I've needed to do to get to a better place. And the past couple months, I'd say for me, I've learned a lot about hormones and how they impact my mood, because I really feel it in my mood. And so in my learning, I started tracking. And so there's 4 cycles. I'll tell you the general cycles that I track. So like in the beginning, it's the follicular state. So in the beginning it starts with menstruation. And then that's when you're perioding. And then there's the follicular stage, which happens after that. You have, and there's something about, like, I'm not a professional. I just know that estrogen is high when you're menstruating, right? And progesterone as you get through. So after the follicular stage, you go into ovulation, which is when the hormones are like really balanced, and I'm like acting like I know what I'm talking about. But,
she does.
And then the last part is the luteal phase, which I know that's where I'm really, really great at of learning, because that is the week before the period, your next cycle. And honestly, that's when the hormones are super out of whack. Like, I think it's progesterone is tanking, estrogen is rising, and those are the hormones that make the female body feel level. And so when those start to drop, it really does sook. like it's really challenging to...
What word did you just use?
Sook.
Can we get a translation in English?
It really is not the best feeling when they're not in balance. It's like, yeah, it's just really, really rough. I don't know what else to say. I'm not a nice person when that happens to me. My goal in 2024 is to be more in tune with my cycle and how that all happens. But in the midst of it, your people who are close to you just kind of take the brunt of the craziness that happens inside. And I don't think a lot of women in my life have talked about it, so I think that's why I'm learning now at 32 what is going on inside of me. Why do I want to run away? Why do I think everything everyone says is mean and pointed directly at me,
and they're out to get you?
No. Yeah. So
I'm in that stage. I'm in the fun PMS stage, that some might call it, and it's just real rough this time around. And I've noticed that, like, so the reason why we wanted to talk about this today is because I feel like it's super important to find celebration in the roughest parts, because it's like, if you can celebrate yourself when you're literally a B word, like I don't know, like I feel like everything else is up from there, right? If you can actually learn to love yourself in that state when you feel like dog dirt, you know, it's just, I feel like that's honestly what I wanted to bring light to, because I feel like this cycle is, that's how we were made, and there are tools and there are ways to support your hormones, and you know, so that you are a little bit better. And I've noticed, like, if I'm just completely real, like, I'm just going to call myself out, like, I've noticed, like, there's a couple other factors as well why I think my hormones are a little bit crazier I'm coming off of having a baby. So, I mean, of course, it's going to take time to kind of level out. But I do notice that if I eat junk food.
Oh, you had to talk.
Don't call me out. I'll call myself out.
Okay, sorry.
If I have junk food that's just like super hard to process, it really does affect my hormones. It really, really does. And environment, and if have more toxins around, like that, really, your body has to process more. So I had a weakness, and I went to Taco Bell.
T-Bay. When she told me that, I was like, you did what?
Yeah, because that is not me. Like, I just don't.
I don't mind the occasional T-Bay, but
I just don't do Taco Bell. Like, I don't typically do gluten or dairy. Like, I keep my diet pretty clean, and I try not to eat a bunch of sugar. And honestly, like, the week before hitting the luteal phase, or maybe right coming into it, I started gorging on chocolate. Like, I was eating it by the handfuls, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Like, literally, I couldn't get enough. I ate cookies. I ate tons of chocolate chips, Taco Bell. Like, you know what I mean? Just, like, really, like... So anyways, I feel like that definitely played into it. However, I do feel, and Jamie and I were just kind of chatting, that, like, this cycle really is an opportunity for us to process pain. Yeah. And it's like, well, you're already feeling like crap, so you might as well get some trauma out while we're at it.
Well, and that's what I think, what we were talking about, is I think that's honestly what I've learned about the cycle, is that as women, that is when, this is so to go on that, like, I've been a tomboy my entire life, where I've been more operating out of my masculine mode, and we can talk about masculine and feminine energy, but I've just operated more in a tomboy, more career, professional driven, I don't know, that's just how I have operated. And so to me, the feminine, embodying the feminine, comes with like creativity, intuition, more spirituality, more being sensitive, empathic, sensitive to other things. And for me, I've learned in the past like 4 months, that maybe even longer, that it's funny that it's like my period forces me into my feminine, because biologically that's what's happening when I come into my period. So I'm like, all of a sudden I'm just like smacked in the face with everything unprocessed that I'm holding on to, with pain in my heart, pain in my stomach, pain in my life, energetic field, because that is literally what happens. You get forced. It's kind of a cycle. It's kind of a beautiful thing, but it also kind of really stinks at the same time, of like, it's a very helpful built-in mechanism that I've learned of like, so now like, it's like, okay, then of course I'm going to feel stuff, because if I'm operating more closed off to my feminine, more closed off to my heart, more closed off to the sensitive part of myself, then of course I'm going to be like, kind of, my system's going to reboot, and it's going to kick me into my feminine mode, which forces me to look at stuff that I normally avoid, or I normally operate out of. I don't consciously avoid, but I normally operate in a certain way. So like, that's what I feel like happens. Yeah. When there's so much energy, and it's just absolutely insane. Besides the physical stuff of like, hey, I want chocolate, or I want these like things. I've really found peace in the root, that it's honestly the energy of stuff that I'm not able to see otherwise.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to share is that before Brandon and I got married, we were doing a premarital counseling type thing, and our mentors were like asking us like, what's one area in life that you guys want to like touch on or like, you know, and I was like, hormones. I was like, I would love to hear insight on how, you know, I was asking for both of their perspectives. It was a man and a wife, our friend, or that were mentoring us. And I wanted to hear both of their perspectives on how, because they've been married a long time, and I wanted to hear how hormones has affected their marriage and like what they have done, you know, like different things that they've done to like kind of help with that. And I can tell you that that conversation was extremely healing for me, because it was like, it made me not feel alone, because, you know, like
she was talking.
she was talking, and she was like, you know, she was relating to my, you know, emotions and concerns about it. And he, the husband, found a way to basically like, he says one thing to her when she gets into her, do you have stuff to say? He says one thing to her when she gets into her cycle or whatever. He says, you know what? I'm so thankful that God made you a woman. And I'm so thankful that you're able to bear kids, and you're able to, you know, like, just don't worry about that. You're able to do, you know, he would just like compliment her womanhood as she's like raging, or like as she's like super hormonal. And even though like at first, so Brandon started doing that to me, and I was like, you're just doing that because he said that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like the part of you that is like, no, that's not original. That's not your own idea, right? Yeah. But then after a while, like, I was like, okay, what if it's true? What if he's actually thankful? You know what I mean? Like, what if what he's saying is true? And I started kind of trying to be like, okay, like it takes time, because when you're in this cycle, you're already having a hard time dealing with yourself, let alone
which is the
anyone else.
All. Yeah.
Anyone else having to deal with you. You feel already like scum of the earth, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, it's just super interesting, like just to have support where people can just say things like that, even if you don't really believe them in the moment. Like later, it kind of helps establish that truth of like, okay, this is just a process. It will not last forever. Actually, you said something this morning that actually helped me. I can't remember what you said. Like, you will get through this or something like that. Like,
I said this process will end. Like,
yeah.
It's not gonna go on forever.
And for some reason, hearing that, like, even though I know that, but like hearing that was like, oh, like it is just a process, because it feels like forever.
When you're in it, it's like, this is my life. I'm doomed to this life. It's so dramatic. It's like, I'm done. Yeah. Put a fork in me, I'm done.
It's like literally if
one more person feel out.
Yeah, if one more person talks to me, I think I'm gonna explode. Like, I need alone time, you know.
Oh man.
Just all the things. And so, yeah, what a journey. And so I honestly, like, I'm trying to feel, because like I am like alive in it. I'm like living this feeling.
And that's my question. What does celebrating yourself
because I'm in it
now look like? I know.
So I'm trying to figure out how celebrating, like, honestly, like, if I would, the first thing that comes to mind is eating a huge bowl of ice cream.
Yeah.
with
celebratory
with a bunch of sprinkles on it, and like just fun. But then I say it and I'm like, oh, that actually doesn't sound very good. I actually don't really want that at all.
Proof that she's still in it.
Yeah. But like, honestly, like, I think celebrating is in this state is like, okay, like, I just had this baby. Like, I grew this baby in my body, and, you know, there's going to take time. Like, I need to give myself grace. It's going to take time to get back to a balanced place. And will we ever be fully balanced? I'll leave that up to you. Because the thing of it is, I feel like that's literally the journey of life, is we're always working towards balance. And I think that it's super important to celebrate along the way, because if things get too serious, then it gets too much. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like just giving myself grace right now feels like the best celebration I could give. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe making myself a warm meal, warm cup of tea, and I don't know.
Yeah. So in my studying of like researching of like, okay, what do we need in these certain parts? What do I need in these certain parts of my cycle? And honestly, I'd really want to encourage every woman who deals with the PMS part, and if they're really struggling, to know that that is when your energy is going inward. And naturally, like you are going inward. And so if you're trying to do all this stuff, you're going to be fighting yourself. You're going to be fighting your schedule. The funniest thing, okay, I'll tell a little brief story, but like so in my professional life, I'm a project manager and I work with digital marketing agency. And my client, this was last year, I was really learning about my cycle. And ironically enough, I had to do reporting at the first part of the month, which is when I have my period. And so I had to be the most analytical, like on it, presenting the clients, answering their data questions. Why is this driving revenue? And like doing all this stuff. And I'm like, I could care less. I was sitting on these calls and I'm like, I could care less about if these data points make you happy or if these data points are driving the bottom line. like I could care. I just was learning and I started laughing because I was the manager of delivering these reports, and I was just telling the guys, I'm like, I just let go. I let go of having to care about the reality of these reports.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these guys are professionals. Like I had to let go of control or whatever, even though I would normally operate more engaged, but I like let go of control. But it was just such a funny thing of like, our energy is naturally going inward, and that's such a thing to celebrate.
Yes.
That's the heart that I want to celebrate, is like, you're pedal to the metal and you might have a whole bunch on your plate, but like I'm celebrating the fact that you are going inward and that you are listening to that and like having grace. That 100% I think is the intuitive, natural energy that every single woman needs to embody, because as soon as you start to do that, that's literally the point when you stop fighting yourself. So I'm celebrating the fact that you're doing that for yourself, and that is like, that is such a beautiful way, because what comes from going within is an amazing, is the growth, is the feeling of peace, is the learning to dance with self, like Cass said, of learning to be in balance and not fighting that.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually a beautiful thing to celebrate. Because without people who go inward, there is no love coming outward. Like, really, if everyone's out stuck doing, if everyone's in the masculine mode, there needs to be that feminine energy on this planet in order to be able for like love to exist, for like true creativity, true intuition, really deep stuff that AI, data can never touch. Like true connection can never touch. So I don't know, does that spark anything in you?
No, that's really good. I feel like I'm so like just even showing up on this podcast today was kind of a struggle for me, because I feel so emotional and just like there's just a lot going on. And so I just, especially during these holidays and just when everything's getting more busy and time doesn't stop and things are just, you know what I mean? Like I'm
on my period during the Christmas time. I'm so nervous.
Oh man. So it's almost like, how do you navigate these big emotions, like when you're going to be around family and you don't want to like ruin relationships? Because like honestly, back in the day when, you know, like I've read different books and stuff, or not books, but like little blurbs about the Native Americans when they would be on their cycle. All the women would go in a tent, the red tent,
because that was a very sacred act. That's what I'm saying, because literally that's when, like, I call it the Holy Spirit, God, Creator, was be able to tap into these women. It's a very sacred experience.
And so it's like, dude, why aren't we doing that now? You know, let's go on a vacation for like a month. No, but seriously, when you think of how society has changed and just the different things, it's like, I feel like it's important for us as women to figure out a way to create our own modern day version of that, even if it's just like tracking your cycles. And like I use an app called Flow, And I just paid for the subscription because they kind of have some cool information on there. And I just honestly track my cycle so that way you have a heads up as to what's coming, and it can kind of help you plan. And like, honestly, like I made a decision that I'm not going to plan anything major on this week of my cycle. I'm going to give myself permission to completely like be on vacation, like still take care of my kids, obviously do the bare minimum, but like, if I don't feel like working out, not work out. If I like just listening to my body, if I need to be out in nature, go out in nature. Like just totally letting myself listen, because I feel like that's why it gets so bad, is because my life is so fast that I don't have time to like slow. Not that I don't have time. I feel like that's kind of an excuse. I feel like I haven't made time, and I haven't allowed myself time, I should say, to kind of go into that more. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing and celebrating the vulnerability of the raw in it.
Yeah.
I know that I really benefit from it, and I know that our listeners will too.
Okay. Well, so next time you're in the stage, PMS stage, which is a week before your period, they call that the luteal phase.
Yeah.
Be nice to yourself. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say try and develop a relationship of the celebration of going inward, because your body's naturally calling you inward, whether you like it or not. And that's actually something you actually find really, really great nuggets. I have found really great nuggets when I go into it myself.
Yeah.
So I encourage you all to do the same. So thank y'all for listening. We hope you enjoy. Shoot us messages of what you think. Give us a subscribe. Give us a like. And we will see you again next week. Take care.